I get so many headaches every month.
It could be chronic migraine, 15 or more headache days a month, each lasting 4 hours or more.
Botox, onabotulinum toxin A, prevents headaches in adults with chronic migraine. It's not for those who have 14 or fewer headache days a month. Prescription Botox is injected by your doctor. Effects of Botox may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness can be signs of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Side effects may include allergic reactions, neck and injection site pain, fatigue, and headache. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Don't receive Botox if there's a skin infection. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions, including ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects.
Why wait? Ask your doctor. Visit BotoxChronicMigraine.com or call 1-800-44-BOTOX to learn more.
American soccer fans, welcome to episode 186 of the USA Soccer Cast. We're bringing you everything about the U.S. national teams, the players, the leagues, and everything else that impacts the game of soccer in these United States. I'm Donald Wine, and we have an exciting episode for you today. Yesterday, SB Nation, who is the parent site behind Stars and Stripes FC, that's the site that I manage and for which this podcast used to be directly affiliated, launched a 3-part docuseries called Soccer Meets America. Soccer Meets America is about soccer in the United States, focusing on the era from the 1970s into this modern day, and it is now out on Roku. From the explosion of pro leagues in the 1980s through the 2026 World Cup, Soccer Meets America chronicles the unexpected path of professional soccer in the United States. It's a story shaped by chance, persistence, and communities that kept the game alive long before it found mainstream recognition. Starting with the sport's deep roots in immigrant communities in the 1920s, each episode explores soccer on a personal and professional level, both nostalgic and forward-facing. This series features a variety of influential figures in American soccer and hopes to resonate with new and old fans of the sport. Soccer Meets America is a part of a flurry of documentaries about American soccer and the U.S. men's national team that are being released ahead of the World Cup, which of course starts on June 11th. I got a chance to view Soccer Meets America, and it's quite fascinating. I would call myself very knowledgeable on the history of American soccer from its early beginnings to today. But I truly value this art, and I try to do this every day. Learn something new. I try to learn something new every single day. I try to accomplish that every single day. And this docuseries did that for me. I learned quite a bit about America's soccer history that I didn't know before. And so in that regard, if you're not someone who would claim to know a lot about how America blossomed in the 70s and 80s into this soccer crazed country we are today, this is a docuseries for you. Each episode's about an hour long, so it's very easy to watch in an evening. Would highly recommend everyone do just that. Soccer Meets America is now out on Roku, as I mentioned, and you won't need a Roku TV or stick to watch the Roku channel. It's completely free with ads, so take the time to watch as we get excited about this summer of soccer coming to our shores in just over a month. We're going to pause right here. We have an awesome interview with a very special guest. We'll tell you who that is after the break, and I promise you won't want to miss it.
This summer, serve up the Cookout Classics, Kraft Mayo and Dressing. Toss green salads with delicious ranch dressing or zesty Italian. Serve smooth, craveably creamy potato salads with mayo. We all know it's not a cookout without Kraft.
You tell yourself, no one wants your college-era band tees. But on Depop, people are searching for exactly what you've got. You once paid a small fortune for them at merch stands. Now, a teenager who calls them vintage will offer that same small fortune back. Sell them easily on Depop. Just snap a few photos and we'll take care of the rest. Who knew your questionable music taste would be a money-making machine? Your style can make you cash. Start selling on Depop, where taste recognizes taste.
Hey everyone, are you looking for the latest gear for your U.S. national teams, Major League Soccer, the NWSL, or any other team in the world of soccer? The USA SoccerCast has affiliate partnerships that are ready to help you out. Head to linktree.com/USA SoccerCast, where we have links to Homage, Fanatics, the MLS Store, and Breaking Team. You can get the jersey, shirt, hat, or accessory you're looking for to support your team, while also saving some money and helping this show in the process. Again, linktree.com/USA SoccerCast. Click on the links and get your gear. And we thank you as always for your support of the show. We're back, and as I mentioned before the break, we have an incredible interview for you today. A few weeks ago, in preparation for the release of this docuseries, Soccer Meets America, by SB Nation and Roku, I had the chance to speak with an absolute legend in the soccer space, Alan Rothenberg. Alan was a soccer commissioner for the 1984 Olympics. He was the president of the U.S. Soccer Federation from 1990 to 1998. And was the CEO of the 1994 World Cup, helping create one of the biggest sporting events in world history. He also helped get Major League Soccer started. He chaired the 1999 Women's World Cup and was instrumental with getting women's soccer added to the Olympic program in 1996 when the Summer Games were in Atlanta. He's a huge focal point of this docuseries, Soccer Meets America, because Alan Rothenberg is American soccer history in so many ways. Not bad from a guy from Detroit who, as he will claim, is not a soccer guy. We talked about some of that history of the American soccer, his involvement in so many tentpole moments that formed the foundation of the modern era of American soccer. And I got to talk with him about some of that history and to link it further to what he expects from this coming World Cup and beyond. One programming note, please excuse the sound quality of this interview. Because of some difficulties, we had to get Alan on the phone and record it through there. So hopefully we were able to clean it up fully so you can listen. And so without further ado, here it is. That interview with the legendary Alan Rothenberg.
I want to start because I've read your book, I've watched the docuseries, and I want to start with the docuseries real quickly because you actually featured pretty prominently in it. What do you hope is the biggest takeaway, or the most important takeaway that fans like us can take from this docuseries about the history of American soccer?
I think the takeaway is how far we've come. From let's say 1990 when we started out working in a trailer in Colorado Springs with 6 or 8 employees. To next month, we're going to be opening up a soccer training site that's basically better than any in the world down in Atlanta. We got a couple hundred employees. When we started in 1990, legally the Federation was bankrupt, and now it's, I wouldn't say a wash of money, but it's got some very substantial revenue. So I think it's really the growth. There was no pro league. Obviously, they'd never done a World Cup before. There'd never been a Women's World Cup. And, of course, we started it in 91, and then in 99 did the historic Women's World Cup. So we've come from, almost level 0 to, level 60 or 75 now, and hopefully after 26 we'll go over to 100.
You mentioned in your book that you're not a soccer guy. I think you mentioned that you've only played just a couple of times in your life, but you've become one through your executive experience. As you were kind of going through this process, was there a point where you saw or started to see the vision of what the sphere looks like today, what that could become?
It sort of grew. I think as the time went on, starting in 1990. Actually, I had a glimpse of it back in the 70s when we had a team in Los Angeles, and obviously the Cosmos set the world on fire at that time with Pele and Beckenbauer, Carlos Alberto, and Quinalia selling out Van Giant Stadium. So there were those glimpses of what the future could hold. But as we started to build the Soccer Federation, our World Cup team, and the World Cup organization, it just started to accelerate. So there wasn't one aha moment, I would say. If there was, it would have been U.S. Cup 93, when we sort of did a test tournament and had Germany, England, and Brazil in a tournament with the United States, and we beat England, and we held our own, although we lost to them, to Brazil and Germany. And so in the tournament organization went off without a hitch. And so, I mean, I think at that point, we knew it was just all going to be not downhill, but I guess all upside.
Yeah, and, thinking about the 93 U.S. Cup and that leading into the World Cup in 94, obviously we have the World Cup this summer. Do you see any similarities between the 94 World Cup and the preparation and execution of this coming World Cup?
For the U.S. team or from an organization?
From an organizational standpoint.
Actually, they're both totally different. From an organizational standpoint, in 1994, FIFA kept the international marketing and TV rights, generally speaking, and turned everything else over to us. And we had one centralized body under, it was under the Federation, although we had a separate corporation created. And so it was a classic organizational structure, if you will. We had 9 cities, but they all reported directly into headquarters to me. This time, FIFA has kept control of everything, and they have to deal with 11 American cities, and of course, 3 Mexican and 2 Canadian cities. Each of them, with their host city construct unique to that city. So there is no real local centralized authority, if you will. And FIFA has kept virtually all of the significant revenue sources, but the burden of actually putting the matches on falls to the host cities. So they currently have limited revenue opportunities, but all the burdens of putting it on, whereas in 94 we had the burdens of putting it on, but we also had the opportunity to get revenue sources that not only pay those costs, but as it turned out, we was like $50+ million surplus. So that part was different. As far as the U.S. is concerned, the team, again, it was totally different. In 94, the international soccer community had such little respect for the quality of our players that only 1 or 2 of them had opportunities abroad. Mm-hmm. So out of necessity, we created a camp. So we had a residency camp for 16 months, played a ton of friendly matches. So we really had a true team and a team that was ready once we started to compete. And so therefore, we put on a great exhibition. Right now, the good news is that the international soccer community does respect the quality of our team, our players. So we have players playing abroad, but they're all over the place. They're in different teams, different leagues, different countries. And then there's several MLS players that have blossomed. But nobody plays as a team except for maybe, a quick 1 week training camp before a match or 2. And so it's difficult to really make an assessment at this point of how well we're going to be how well we're going to perform in 2026. We get the talent, so it's just a question if they can gel. And it's been spotty in the preparation, but there's never been one solid squad that you can say, okay, this is the starting team. It seems like every exhibition that we have and every match that we play, it's a different lineup. And so hopefully we get it all together, obviously, but it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned the execution of the World Cup in '94 and how different it was for now. Is there something that you think you would have done differently had you been in charge of this one that is not being done?
Yeah, if I was FIFA and I still wanted to control it, I would have used the federation. They basically bypassed the soccer federation. I would have turned over the running of it domestically to the soccer federation, and let them deal with all those. And we'll talk about the U.S. now, the 11 cities. And I also would give a little bit more opportunity for the domestic host to get some revenue, so it wouldn't be quite as burdensome as it currently is. I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to be a fabulous tournament, and people are going to love it. But the host cities have gone through more angst than they needed to have just because of the structure.
Yeah, let's look beyond just 94 and everything. You mentioned 96 in your book and the formation of Major League Soccer and just how that has kind of helped spur what we have today. But I'm sure that you mentioned also there was a point where the WUSA, I should say, folded. MLS was kind of on thin ice. You mentioned U.S. Soccer was near bankrupt. Do you think there was a moment that, if reversed, would have kind of kept us, quote unquote, in the Stone Ages, or at least stunted the growth that we've seen?
Well, stunted the growth. If our U.S. team in '94 did not perform credibly, that would have certainly slowed everything down. MLS, about the third, fourth, fifth year, whatever it was really struggling, and it would have probably collapsed, but for Phil Anschutz taking the lead and with his fellow founding investors, Lamar Hunt and Robert Kraft, basically keeping the league afloat long enough to rebuild it, and then bringing in Don Garber to be the commissioner, and he's now wrapping up for 27 years as commissioner. So that was the pivotal point that was on the precipice of collapsing financially before Phil and Lamar and Robert stepped up to save it.
Yeah, I mean, it's well documented, that period of Major League Soccer and kind of the shift to Phil and how he helped bring some injection of energy and just saving the league and how that worked. But let me ask you, as we look forward, you were a big part of the legacy of the '94 World Cup, formation of Major League Soccer, addition of women's soccer to the Olympic program, and how much you fought for them to get the resources they needed to be as successful as they have been. What do you hope the legacy will be from this coming World Cup? I know that's going to be a different answer than what it was in '94, but what do you think the legacy should be from this World Cup?
Well, obviously we're starting from a different baseline, as they referenced before. We started at virtually zero back in '90, and now we're starting from level 60 or 75, I don't know exactly, but obviously a much higher base. So the dramatic consequences will not be the same as they were after '94, but I think it's going to be a huge spike in interest in the sport at all levels, and importantly for MLS and also for NWSL. If they lack anything right now, it's that they don't get the kind of media dollars that other sports get. And the media dollars are the lifeblood of every team and every league and every sport. And it's my hope, it's my expectation that there'll be renewed interest in the sport, a lot of excitement among fans and sponsors. And importantly, it comes at a pivotal time in the media business with all the different platforms. It's no longer, three linear networks as existed when we got started. Now four. It's Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and so many other different platforms out there that the bidding hopefully will be brisk, which means more money into the teams and leagues. It means, from an MLS standpoint, keeping more of our young, talented players here rather than having them go abroad, and being able to entice some international stars to come play at MLS, when they're still in their prime. And obviously that's just going to feed on itself, because that'll create even more interest and more excitement. And similarly for the NWSL, I mean, they've been doing a good job, and the Tiffany Rodman deal is really important. But they're still in brisk competition with the international clubs. And again, a spike in the interest by the public would convert to they had a decent deal with CBS, but a much better one, and the ability to keep those players here rather than have them go abroad, and be able to entice some European players as well.
So the last question I have for you, and this kind of goes back a little bit, you mentioned some of the pain points and just how you were able to get people to buy into the growth of soccer in this country, whether it was the Olympics, whether it was the World Cup, MLS, again, women's soccer, and bringing the Women's World Cup here in '99. What was the hardest, so that we learn from the past, what was the hardest part of getting people to buy into all of that?
That's a good question, because everything was hard. I'm trying to narrow it down to the hardest part. We weren't sure when we started on building the '94 World Cup. We didn't know how much interest there would be in pure soccer other than from mostly ethnic American soccer fans. But we knew that America loves a big event. And so we made this just such a huge event. Things that in the past had just been done as, well, I'll give you an example. The final draw. In the past, it was just sitting down there with the technicians, if you will, and creating the groups that would be playing. Well, we had a huge gala the night before the draw with Smokey Robinson and James Brown, and then we had Robin Williams, who was off the charts, so hysterical, be the MC of the actual draw. And so we just kept creating more excitement. We took over the Hollywood Bowl for 7 nights during the finals week. They had a different international flavored concert there. We had any excuse, we would all hold a press conference and always have a celebrity with us. We did the opening ceremony always used to just be, a formal putting out the ball. We had Oprah Winfrey as our MC, John Staccato performing, and Diana Ross performing. We had Whitney Houston, who was then the hottest star, music star, doing the halftime show at the finals. So we just created all the hoopla in the world, and we were smart, I guess. We were smart in the way we distributed tickets. We didn't offer an over-allocation at each phase, so it almost assured a sellout of each phase. And, of course, it then created the atmosphere that this is a hot ticket. And so for the next release of tickets, the people would be, I got to get one because it's a hot ticket. So it was all those things that we did that had nothing to do with the sport itself, if you will, but it really did just create an aura of great excitement.
So you'd say, just to follow up on that, you would say that the '94 World Cup was more of a, hey, let's create a spectacle and people will stay for the soccer. And now soccer is the spectacle. We have a knowledgeable fan base where soccer can be the main event and you can have these other things, but everyone's here because they want to see the best in the world play.
I think that's a great way to summarize it. I mean, people ask me what was the turning point, and I point to two things. One, on the field, when we upset Colombia, a pre-tournament favorite to win it all, that established our credibility as a competitive force. And then that was followed up with the July 4th match against Brazil, the ultimate champion. We lost, we held our own, but more important, where I really realized the American fan gets it. The Brazilian fans, of course, are famous for their demonstrative displays, singing and dancing and scarves and painted faces, replica jerseys in the works. There was an equal number of American fans who did the same thing, and that was the first time I'd ever seen that. So on the field, upsetting Colombia. Off the field, where the fans really got it, was the July 4th match.
Yeah, I still remember 94. Just to bring it full circle, of course, the first game was in Detroit, the U.S.-Switzerland game. You mentioned Robin Williams and how he did the draw. I still remember that to this day. Robin Williams went to my high school, Detroit Country Day. So yes, just to bring that full circle, sometimes it just comes back to the old English D. So.
Yeah. I used to play baseball out in the field behind Country Day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, Alan, thank you so much for your time. Really, really appreciate it. And I will be in L.A. for the U.S. games. Hopefully, if you're at one of those games, we can bump into each other.
For sure. And if you need any more, outreach, you can call me anytime.
Sounds great.
Wow. I just want to first thank Alan Rothenberg for his time, for his contributions to the game of soccer in the United States, and his knowledge on the sport. It was great to just vibe with him first about our Michigan roots. But when we got the interview started, really get into the roots of some of the decisions made to get the Olympics here in 1994, to make the World Cup successful, and his role in getting the World Cup here, getting Major League Soccer off the ground, and even looking ahead to how he thinks the World Cup will do this summer, and the legacy that can be created from that is different from what it was in 1994. I learned so much from that interview. It was an honor to speak with one of the true American soccer greats, and hopefully you enjoyed it as well. That will do it for episode 186 of the USA Soccer Cast. Thank you for listening. Remember, you can find us on Blue Sky, Twitter, and YouTube. Follow us on all of those sites at USA Soccer Cast. Subscribe, rate, and review our shows. That helps us get in front of new people, and it's greatly appreciated. Tell your friends about us. Finally, head to linktree.com/USA Soccercast to check out our affiliate links and our stimulus store. We have everything you need to watch the beautiful game and follow your teams, and using those links also helps support the show. We'll talk to you again soon, y'all. Peace.